Hey guys, it's Wednesday. I do believe it's November 23rd. I might be wrong about that. Having to go back in time and re-record videos twice, sometimes three times makes it a little bit confusing for me. And the official topic for today is noisy versus quiet. And I thought that was kind of an interesting topic because, well, we'll get into that today. So, my preference is actually neither. I'm ADHD, and sometimes absolute quiet drives me bonkers. I just can't work in it. So, it depends on what I'm working on. If I'm writing, if I'm doing thumbnails, if I'm doing anything that requires significant decision-making prowess, I really like going to a coffee shop and having a coffee and changing my environment because the time constraint that working outside of your house sometimes puts on you really helps me actually get it done. On those sort of things, for some reason, I will just stall unless I have an exterior constraint, which is why doing NaNoWriMo as a way of working on my comic this year was really good for scripting. But now that I'm in Luling, I'm having a really hard time hunkering down and doing the thumbnails. Now, if I'm doing something that is if I'm like, let's say I'm painting, I can record a tutorial while I'm doing that, which is noisy. It's very distracting. It requires a lot of processing power on my part. You guys have seen me sort of struggle with that. I think I'm getting better, and there's still room for improvement. The problem is my short-term memory is shot. And that is the ADHD. It is for me, that is the biggest problem with the ADHD. It is the thing that I struggle with the most is the short-term memory problems. And I think most people wouldn't even know that I have it if I wasn't so very open about it. And the reason I'm so open about it is I want other people who have that, especially kids and teens, to see that you can be an adult and be successful and you can have a career and you can do creative things and you can be your own business and still have that. It is possible. It's hard, but it's possible. And the more artists I talk to, especially male artists are super, they have no problem disclosing it at all. A lot of them have it as well. A lot of them have partners who keep on top of their stuff, plan their stuff for them. Joseph does help me with a lot of my things, but I do my own planning. I do my own, I apply to things on my own. I have to keep, but we talked about that. We talked about that in stress management, and I think we talked about that in time management as well. So there's no point in me really going into that. So noisy versus quiet, like I said, it really depends on what part of my process I'm in. I grew up in an extremely noisy household. Like I've said before, Devin has a few learning disabilities. So when he would do homework, the sitting down and the getting it done was very hard for him because he'd been at school all day and he was tired and he didn't want to have to do it. And he doesn't necessarily have as much drive as I did. I just kind of I hated it. I really did. But I just sat down and I did it, just get it over with, did my homework, and Devin, it would be like a 6-hour fiasco. So I've gotten extremely good at ignoring things. Now the problem with that is that if someone else is trying to talk to me about something legitimate, I won't hear them. It won't process. My brain has gotten so good at tuning out noise, I just don't hear them at all. Which means I'm actually very hesitant to do work in front of other people now because I do have to tune them out. And noisy versus quiet, coffee shops, some people find them noisy, some people think they're quiet and they're relaxing. That humdrum everyday noise that has nothing to do with them is very relaxing. It puts them in the zone. Some people enjoy sitting there because they find inspiration from hearing other people's conversations. For some of us, the change in environment is very inspiring, or the time constraints or the space constraints add just the right level of challenge that gets us producing work. Some people enjoy listening to music while they work. For me, it has to be, unless I'm doing stuff like coloring stuff, which I can just sort of automatically do. It doesn't require a whole lot of very conscious decision-making effort. I can't listen to new things or things I've never heard before, or things like I can't listen to like EDM or electronica or dubstep or anything that like really engages my brain, which kind of annoys Joseph because he loves that kind of music. But I have to listen to stuff I'm super familiar with. So like stuff from the 70s, 80s, and 90s is all great, or 2000s is great to have on because I can listen to it and it motivates me and I can work, but it's not super distracting. So when I was in grad school and I was really trying to get stuff cranked out, I listened to Cake nonstop. Fashion Nugget was and War Pigs were like my albums, and I still really love Cake, and I still really love Cake for hunkering down and doing work that I really don't want to do or that I'm too tired to do. It really helps me dig in and find that little bit of extra energy, which is really important after I've had a crummy con, or I've gotten a rejection, or I've been fighting with an anthology that I'm in over payment or sending out books. You know, those are times where I just really don't want to have to work. It's like, this is ridiculous. There is no payoff for me. Nobody seems to care. I'm not making any bit of a difference. So then I just put on my like fight music and I just get to it. So that could technically be considered noisy, but because it's the noise I'm choosing, I can work through it. I can also work through like garbage reality television. So I'm not that Chopped is garbage, but I love working with Chopped on. I like working with Ink Masters on. I like working with, there's like a body painting show that I like to have on. But I can't work if YouTubers are on in the background necessarily, especially if there are other artists who are talking about supplies. I do like working with Goulet Pin videos on, or Parka Blogs videos on, because they both have very calming voices. They're both very in-depth. They're very detailed people. I think the reason it really bugs me to have other art supply reviewers on is because so many of them are very lazy, or they get sent it care of, so they're not actually covering the bases very well. And I always just want to argue with them, which is a terrible, you know, right? Like I'm just arguing with the TV. I don't ever leave ugly comments, but, you know, the inner me is like, you were so lazy, why didn't you Google that? So that's the sort of noise that I can't drown out, because it is something I care about, but I feel like they're being short about it, so I just sort of can't do it. So I had to switch environments because to be honest, doing these art sound offs makes me incredibly uncomfortable and I don't like other people being around. And one of the neighbors was walking their dog and giving me funny looks. So I was like, I'm gonna go inside. We have not gotten along. This is the neighbor who threatened to kill my cat 12 years ago. Yeah, Louisiana. Because she was a black cat. So, you know, they already think we're crazy and witches. Yeah. Super duper witches. So I was just like, I'm just gonna go inside and finish up in my old room. And then my brother and my mom were talking about something super loudly. So yeah, noisy environments. It's actually, for me, because I like keeping my personal life so divorced from my public life, I will try to cut out conversations from my videos, try to cut out pretty much as I can that doesn't have anything to do with my stuff. And I hired an assistant last summer and I had the hardest time recording in front of her. It made me incredibly self-conscious. I didn't do a very good job at all. All I wanted was for her to leave. I'm sorry, but it just made me feel really awkward, which is funny because I can do panels like no problem at all. It's just like this self-recording thing feels very narcissistic. And yeah, it's just something that I struggle with. I just try to struggle with it kind of quietly. Anyway, so for me, quiet versus noisy environments, it's really about what I'm doing, the sort of mood I'm in. If I'm agitated, if I'm annoyed, a loud environment is going to drive me bonkers. Like any noise is going to make me crazy until I calm down. So I have to work in a really quiet environment. So really the biggest problem is distractions. If I'm doing something that requires a lot of thinking, a lot of decision making, and I'm constantly being distracted either by stuff on TV or by the cat getting into things or someone asking me questions, it's just gonna end badly. I'm gonna be really frustrated. I'm gonna be really angry at myself. I'm gonna be angry at them. If I'm writing, I need to be by myself. I need to be in quiet so I can hear the story. Other people have talked about their characters talking to them. It's like that for me. My characters tell me the story. So if someone is trying to engage me while I'm writing, it kills it for me. I can't write around that. And I get really angry with them. And I've tried like writing hats and headphones and all that kind of stuff, and people don't respect that. So I usually just try to get my writing done in the middle of the day when nobody else is around. So yeah, for me, a variety is good. I can't just hobbit hole myself up. I can't just sequester myself away from other humans because I get really, really depressed and I start wondering what the point in any of the things that I do is, if all I'm going to do is be alone and sad, because I make art to communicate with other people and I record these videos to communicate with other people. And, you know, so totally sequestering myself from other people and not having any engagement so I can concentrate is not an acceptable answer. So I do need a variety of it. I'm sort of person who needs a lot of stimulation. I need to go out, I need to go see things, I need to touch things, I need to talk to people, etc. Otherwise, I get really cranky and cooped up, which is part of the reason why seasonal affective disorder is so rough for me, because I live on a hill in Nashville, and I live on the downward slope of the hill, and they let that hill ice over, and kids are like sledding down that hill, which is a street, all winter long. So I can't, and my driveway is also, okay, so you've got the hill, and then my driveway is another hill down. So I can't get out for like 2 weeks in the winter, and I don't have any friends who live in walking distance either, so I get really screwy for like 2 weeks in January. But you know, so that's like too much quiet for me, too much Walden Pond. Even Thoreau didn't sequester himself the way people think he did, because he was on his friend's land and they were having parties all the time. It's like going to your hunting camp and drinking, you know, like that's not quite the picturesque seclusion that people think of when they think artists need this. No, most of us are just like all of you, except we need time to actually do work. It would be like if somebody was harassing you the entire time you were trying to teach a class, or you were putting together a spreadsheet, or you're doing a presentation for your boss, or putting together reports. Exactly the same thing. If you like having interaction and friends and distraction and music and normalcy, surely we do too. Most of us are very professional in our how we portray ourselves. I really wish the media would stop portraying us like ridiculous, flighty no-goods, because it's super insulting. And it's just like, dang, writers, you guys sure are divorced from reality, huh? But yeah, quiet versus noisy, little of both. This was the 23rd Art Sound Off. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.